Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Now in this video I would like to discuss about the family category type of visas that you can actually apply to get into Australia. So what does that mean? That means once you migrated and you're an Australian citizen or Australian permanent resident and you want to sponsor your parent, spouse or even children into Australia, there are ways to get in. Now there are two other categories which I won't discuss further because it's more about wartime, and then you get remaining relatives. That's one thing, and the other one is adoption. So these two categories, it won't be discussed in this video, but I will do a further video in regards to those ones later on of the track. So now let's get into this. So once you got into Australia, you migrated either through business innovation, business investments, or general skill migration, or perhaps you're being sponsored by an employer and you become a permanent resident of Australia. You feel exciting. Life in Australia is good. You want to share it with your family, or even bring them to Australia. So what do you do? Now the three top major categories are: one is parent, and one is children, and the other one is partner. That's for spouse or your wife or husbands. Okay, so that's what we're going to discuss today. Now let's first of all take a look at the first one that we have. Now subclass 173, now contributory parent temporary visa. Now what is that? Now this is a temporary visa. It's not a permanent visa. It gives your parent to be there for 2 years. Okay, now the only thing that we need to watch out for parent visa is that there's a family balance test. What does that mean? That's defined in the law, in the regulations. So it means that at least if you're the child, you want to sponsor your parent, within the total number of your siblings, over half or equivalent to half of your siblings are actually permanently resides in Australia in order to sponsor your parent. So put that into a plain English. If you have a sibling together with yourself, 4 brothers and sisters, now at least 2 brothers and sisters, including you, has to be permanently living in Australia. Now, what's defining permanent residing in Australia? So basically, a rule of thumb is you need to show that with the evidence support that you have been permanently living in Australia for at least 2 years. So these 2 siblings has to be there. So another example, you might have only 1 brother or 1 sister, so 2 of you. Okay, now the requirement to meet the family balance test will be either one of you is permanently residing in Australia and also you are a permanent resident or Australian citizen there. So that's the rule of thumbs. Now when it comes to subclass 173, now it's a very, very old law where they're giving our parents to actually come temporarily to actually feel about it. If you like it, then you decide to move into a permanent status, then you will apply for 143, as you can see down here, to become a contributory parent visa subclass 143. Now there used to be a parent visa without contributory, but over the past few years they left it there. But then the processing time for a non-contributory parent visa became very, very unrealistic because the waiting and processing time is exceeding 20 years plus. So I won't suggest anyone applying because you will be wasting your time waiting for all these years. So now that's 173. So you can come temporarily. Feel about it. If you do really love Australia's environment, then you can decide to move into subclass 143, which is a permanent parent visa, which is this one, subclass 143. So, or perhaps you don't mind, you can apply 143 straight away rather than going into 2 steps, 2 stages, 173 and 143. You can apply 143 straight away. Doesn't really matter. Okay, 70% of my client will do this. I hardly recommend going 173 and then 143. You're going through two applications, wasting your effort, and also, of course, wasting additional service costs, professional service costs as well, unless there's a real reason for you to have a feel about temporarily and then move into a permanent stages. Now, there's another subclass named subclass 864. Now, you may notice the name is very similar, but there's only one thing different here is it's contributory aged parent visa. Now, the advantage of using subclass 864 is that you can actually lodge onshore in Australia. Now, I haven't mentioned that 173 and 143 cannot lodged while the applicant is onshore. It has to be go offshore, and you have to wait offshore. Now, the wait time for 143 at the moment is about 4 years. It's through my experience, recent practice. Now, 864 is beauty because you can lodge onshore, you get bridging visa, you can stay with your with the family straight away. You don't have to wait offshore. But the only differences here is that you need to prove that your parent is at the category as aged parent. So in a rule of thumb, through the check of Centrelink, it's very easy. As long as your parent is of age 67 or above, should be considered or defined as aged parent, so they can stay in Australia and lodge it and then wait in Australia onshore with you together. And the other advantage is that it will be assessed much quicker than going through 143 for 4 years. I think aged parent will be within or roughly 2 years, but less than that. Now, the other good thing through the budget 2020 and 21 is that they have increased the quota of all the family category visas. So I assume the application will go faster now. Okay, now move on from parent visa, we go into child visa. Now, child visa is generally, obviously, well, it's a child and their child and you want to sponsor them. So it rarely happens because in Australia, once you have opportunity to become permanent resident, generally 80% of the applicant will actually include their children within their permanent residency visa application anyhow. But in some cases, you might not choose to do that. For example, you were employed and your kid is around 16, 17, 18. They're at the last year of high school. They want to be there with their friends and they want to get their score so they can actually get ranked towards universities. So they want to stay where they are, and then you work in Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane, for instance. And then once you get permanent resident, you want to sponsor them as a family. So that's just for example. Now, the only thing that I want to mention about child visa, well, it's pretty easy to understand this. The sponsor will you'll be the sponsor because you're the parents. Now, the only differences here is that you may notice when you're applying for permanent residency, either through general skill migration, business innovation investment visa, or employment sponsor visas, the dependent children has to be under 18 or full-time study and under 23. Now, interestingly, for child visa, it gives you up to the year of age of up to 25. So how do you utilize this? Is if you're lodging a permanent residency visa where your children is about the age of 22 and 23, and due to the processing time, he or she might be over the age of 23, so you can't sponsor them anymore. At that time, you need to withdraw them out. And once you get your permanent residency, then you do a child visa, provided they are still at full-time student level, because child visa allow them to be, under 25, so 2 more years. So that's another strategy to be used of this child visa. Otherwise, I haven't seen any other way why you should discard your children while you're applying for permanent residency anyhow. Okay. Now the last part is the partner visa, subclass 820 and 801. Now again, through the old systems, just like the parent visa, they have separated them into temporary and permanent, which is more of redundancy. So a couple years ago, I think more than 10 years, they decided to pull them together. Now people ask, so why don't they just create one subclass rather than two subclasses? Interesting. I think the reason is because uh, a lot of spousal or partner relationship, de facto relationship, does have challenges of being broken out. So whether it's going to be divorced, separated, things like that. So they remain. They left the partner visa to be remain in two stages and two different application. Although nowadays electronic application, you can all get that done electronically. Now I noticed the old day. I have to, pencil, paper, fill them all out with all the photographs and all that. That's just painful. But nowadays it's much more convenient. But partner visa is quite costly. It's I think about almost 8 grand Australian dollars. So you must make sure that you're getting the right partner, right spouse. All right. So otherwise you will be wasting your money as well. So there's not much to be said in partner visa apart from the current processing time is quite long, as you can see, 22 to 27 or 13 to 20 months. But throughout the last couple of weeks, the announcement of budget 2020 and 21, the increased quota of the family category visas, I assume that these partner visa shall be assessed a much quicker and more efficient fashion. Now that's for the video today. If you do have any query or questions, more than welcome to leave a comment right down below, and should you consider to subscribe to my channel, so once we have more video and insights, you'll be the first one getting the information. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next video. Goodbye.